Welcome to the Community Hotline, a place for everyday community members to be heard and share their personal experiences with the youth. I'm your host, Bob Fang, and today we have Alayana.
Hey, Rob.
Why don't you tell us two truths and one lie about yourself?
Hmm. Two truths and one lie. Um, I've been to Paris.
Okay.
Um, I absolutely love the ocean.
Okay.
Um, and hmm, one more. I love art.
Okay. I love that. Is it Paris? Have you not been to Paris?
Yeah, I've not been to Paris. Not here by one.
I love it. Have you been outside of Malaysia?
Yes, I have, but mostly to Southeast Asia countries.
Okay. Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore.
Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Hong Kong,
Okay.
Korea.
Nice.
Yeah,
Japan?
Japan not yet.
Okay, okay. Planning to make that trip soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Um, let's get right into the super deep questions. Are you ready?
Okay. Yep.
All right. First question of the day, setting the tone, is what are three defining moments in your life and how did they impact you?
Hmm. Three defining moments. Mm, okay, so the first defining moment would be when I single-handedly, or I would say when I saw my father get really sick. So my dad was diagnosed with cancer many years ago, and seeing him, being a really healthy person, suddenly, wither away and get really sick. That changed my life. Seeing how life is so short. Um, so that definitely taught me that in life we should enjoy ourselves, and always be happy. Do what makes you feel happy because life is so short and you don't know when you would go or your loved ones would go. So spend a lot of time with them. Always take a lot of photos and videos of them if you can. Tell them that you love them. It doesn't matter how annoying it will be, just tell them. Because, all of us have to go at some point in our lives. But, our loved ones will always be in our memories. And, obviously to have photos and videos kept there, definitely that helps, to keep your memories. So I feel that that's one of my first defining moments in my life, um, that definitely impacted me.
Okay, I love that. Second one?
Second one, I feel like it's really gonna get deep and dark though.
Let's go. The kids know what's up. They know that they
Okay.
want to hear the truth. You don't want to lie to kids.
Okay. uh the second one was when I got really sick as well. So I was diagnosed with pulmonary embolism, a couple years back. So it's where doctors found out that they had a, a blood clot in my lungs. Um, and he told me that I was very lucky to be alive, because if I delayed any longer, I wouldn't be here right now. Um, so at that time, I was really stressed with life. I was really sad and I was really down. But that made me feel, or that made me prioritize my own mental health and my own health itself. From there onwards, I started prioritizing, focusing on what I needed to do, focusing on my purpose in life, um, what I wanted to achieve while I was still alive. And, not just be overly stressed about the small things in life. So, yeah, I
Are you
focus a
better
lot
now?
more. Yeah, I'm great now. Doctors all give me the, "Hey, okay, you're good to go." So, but yeah, that was a scary time in my life, especially for my family and for myself. But it did change my perspective. At that time, I was really stressed with work. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't sleeping well. I was just, not eating well and not even exercising. So after that, my whole life kind of changed, and I started to focus more on myself, as physically and mentally. So I made it a point every day at least to go work out, or to go spend time with my dogs, or spend more time with my family. Just to do something a little bit active every day, and get out of the house, and just try and find a better meaning in life rather than just sit at a desk and do your work all the time and be stressed. So that's another defining moment as well.
Love that. Love that. Okay. And then the third and last one?
The last one. Um, the last one. Let me think.
Take your
Hmm.
time.
Okay, so when I was growing up, I really like creative arts. So I like to draw, I like to paint, I like taking photographs, I like making movies, anything creative. I've always been a fan of, and it always has been a passion of mine. Whether or not I'm really good at it or not, I've always found that I really like doing something. I mean, it really calls to me. So that made me feel like I want to do better at those things, right? So growing up in a traditional Chinese family, creative arts is not exactly what we call the best job or the best thing to study. As you know, for Asian families, you're required to follow, the social standing of, being a doctor or accountant or a banker, someone, you know, that has a professional job. That's what they call it. Um, but I felt that because of my love for creative arts, um, I remember arguing with my mom for about a month because I refused to go to college after taking my SPM. And I told her that I'm not going to college if I don't study the things that I want to study. And we didn't speak to each other for like, I think, a month, until, my dad and all of us sat down and said, okay, do what makes you happy. And then I finally got it. But yeah, I mean, he, I feel that even though these days I'm in corporate and for myself, to do things that really inspire you, right? So that I have a good balance. Yes, I do work a serious job, but at the same time, I also have time and space, to express my creativity, or, to do the things that I enjoy. So I did, study all those things, and these days I have fun with on the weekends, or on my trips, creating videos or content, or taking photos, not just for memories, but just because it really calls to me and I really like it. I can spend
Love that.
hours doing it. Yeah. So that's another defining moment for me.
I love that. So deep. So we have your father's health situation with the cancer. We have your blood clot health scare in the lungs. And then we have your creative passions, sticking to your guns, not listening to your mom experience. I love all three. We're gonna dig a little deeper into them. But let's start off with the first topic of the day. Let's go for something a little bit more light. Let's start with education. Um, Tell us, who were you in high school?
What was I in high school? How was
Yeah,
I
who
in high
were you?
school?
Yeah, what type of person were you?
Um, I was actually what you call an outcast. So I wasn't like part of the smart people group. I wasn't part of the super nerdy, or super popular group, or part of the jocks. I was kind of an all rounder. I was good in certain things. I was bad in certain things. So it did take me some time to actually find a group of, good friends. But I felt that I, I mean, at that time when I was, in school, I tried fitting in with different people, but it just didn't feel right. Like I felt like that was not me. So finally, I found a group of my friends where we're all weird together. We all like different things. We're all a bit of mixtures, mischiefs, um, a bit of nerd, a bit of weirdo. But you know, there is a space, for people at some point, where you find your own group of friends, right? So you don't have to change yourself, I would say.
Okay. Were you ever? Did you ever experience bullying in school?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's pretty common, even back in the day. Um, so yeah, I mean, definitely girls, even in the girls' school, um, if you're different from others, and if you don't really fit in with the specific cliques, they'll kind of outcast you, or they won't really talk to you, and they'll kind of leave you alone. But eventually, I found, my group of friends, and I was pretty close to some of the teachers as well. I mean, it's not the bullying wasn't as bad as currently what's happening right now. But back then, even you know, name calling and things like that, that was all pretty common.
What what would you say to your younger self, about bullying, how to deal with bullying back then, knowing what you know
Mm,
now?
I would say just be yourself. Don't change for other people. You eventually find a group of great friends who really care and understand who you are, and won't change anything about you.
Got it. How have you changed since high school and your primary school days to now?
I guess I'm less. Hmm, that's a good question. How have I changed? I feel I haven't changed a lot, but definitely, with experience and with work and life, definitely I'm less reckless, I would say. I mean, when I was young, I was pretty reckless, and I was pretty, what my mother would call is difficult to deal with.
Personal story. Tell
Yes.
us a reckless story. Reckless story. Tell us.
So yeah, I mean, when I was young, I've always had a mind on my own, and I was very opinionated, and I really didn't care what other people thought and think. So I would, do really nonsense things, I would say. If a person would tell me don't do it, I would just go and do it, just for the spite of it, just to piss them off. But yeah, growing up now that I've learned, don't do that.
Has that translated into your corporate career in the beginning, or
In corporate, I'm a totally different person. I have to be really strict and straight and like, okay. So when my associates see me outside, they're like, "Is that my boss?"
didn't you just say don't change for anyone for who you are?
Uh, well, there's a time or place where you can be yourself. But yeah, in the corporate industry, I mean, obviously there are certain rules that you have to follow, I would say.
Got it. Got it. Got it. And then, with your health scare with the blood clot in the lungs, I'm sure. How long ago was that?
Um, a year ago, more than a year ago, I would say. Yeah,
Okay.
about
So,
yeah,
and and
2021, I would say.
and how I guess I'm sure I guess if you had experienced that, what were some thoughts going into your head, or how did you deal with that? I'm sure it's a big deal, life changing almost.
Yeah, so when I had my health scare, actually, it was in the midst of a pandemic. So at that time, being in the hospital, they had a lot of rules where you couldn't have any visitors as well. So that definitely scared me. And when I was in the high dependency unit ward, right, I realized that everyone in that ward, except me and another guy, was actually old. Like they were in, they were grandparents. You can see that, they were in their 70s and 80s. It's due to old age. But it was only me and another guy, and I could see the same similarities between us, is that we overwork ourselves. And even for him, he was actually, he managed to bring his laptop into the ward. I don't know how, but he managed to. Um, but I could see that, yeah, definitely with lack of exercise, lack of taking care of ourselves, and the stress, definitely, that was one of the highest contributors of what happened there. Um, so with that experience, I could see who my real friends were. I could see, how much care my family had for me, a lot of love from my family, my cousins, my brother, my sister in law. So everyone really showed me who they were to me. So I felt really loved and really um, cared for. And I felt like, okay, I'm meant to be here, right? It's not my time to go yet. Despite going through a lot of loss in my family. Um, so then that started to really make me think and appreciate my family and my friends a lot more. Um, and also prioritize myself, my life, mentally and physically, um, doing things that makes me happy, I would say. So for me, I used to work really overwork, I would say. I used to stress out and overwork myself and work really long hours. But
Personal
that,
story.
yes, personal story again. So then I feel that, because of what happened, that really showed me that life isn't just about chasing, climbing up the corporate ladder, or overworking yourself. I mean, you need to have a good balance in life. Yes, it's great, you want to climb up the corporate ladder, but you need to know when you before you get tired or before you get burnt out or stressed, you need to take a break. You need to take a step back and focus on your own health and your own happiness as well. So that showed me, that's why I wanted to spread more awareness, or I wanted to talk a little bit more about mental health awareness, and spread that info to anyone I speak to about.
Got it. Can you share a personal experience about how you were overworking yourself?
Mm, so okay, so with my job, um, in project management, we work with different clients from all around the world. So sometimes I would have to handle multiple clients from uh, different countries. So I would have to get onto calls at different times of the day. I would have to do reports, rush for reports, do presentations at any time of the day. So when it's really busy, I could work maybe 14, 15 hours straight, which is really not conducive or not healthy at all. People used to say, or people used to be so proud of, saying, "Oh, I worked so many hours. I'm so hardworking." No, you're not. You're just burning yourself out, and you're not good at managing your time. You're not good at boundaries. Setting your own boundaries with your managers, or with your clients as well. And it's not wrong. I mean, you're not telling them off. You're just being honest with them and saying that, look, I'm human. I cannot work 16 hours every day. I will burn out eventually and I will get sick. That's not going to help you in the long run, you know? So yeah, I started talking to my bosses. My clients were okay about it, but my bosses were still learning, the boundaries. They're much older, so their mentality is definitely different from our generation. So I started talking to them, and kind of like making them aware about these issues where we shouldn't overwork ourselves. It's not proud, you know we're not proud to say that, oh, I work so many hours, I'm so hardworking. No, you're not taking care of yourself, right? Productive person is someone who knows the right balance, right? And they know when to stop, when before they really burn out.
Love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of work, let's go to the topic, which is money. Um, Tell us. I know in Asian cultures, especially the school system, especially here in most Asian systems, they basically tell you to shut up and just follow, right? And don't ask questions. So I guess, how do you set those boundaries at work? To be able to speak up and to tell your boss. I don't think the boss wants to hear that, right? I don't.
It depends on how close you are with your boss and what the generation is like with your boss. If you have a younger boss, they're actually more willing to be open. And if you have a really good relationship with your boss, you can actually be honest with them. But of course, when you tell them, when you sit down with them, say, hey, I want to have a one-on-one conversation with you, and um, you know I want to be honest. Don't take this the wrong way, but this is how I feel. Younger generation bosses, they will understand. They will say, okay, my staff is, or my associates not agreeing with me on this situation. Maybe we can sync up and brainstorm, and try to find a solution for that. Older generation bosses, there's a tricky way with them. You have to see their mood on a different day. You might have to send them certain videos to hint to them. Tell them, like, this is not the right way. We there is a different way we can do it. With older generation bosses, you kind of have to figure out, or you kind of have to come up with a solution before you tell them that there's a problem, or at least that you're doing something to try and fix the problem. For them, the way they think is, if I have a problem, you need to come to me with a solution, or at least half a solution. Right? I'm not. They're not there to fix the problem. They're there to you're they're there to hire you to fix the problem. So
Got it.
it's very different, working for different generational bosses. So how I manage them is, with the older ones, usually I'll get my generation boss, or to talk to my bigger boss. But this is what I learned from my direct boss, is that there are different ways on how we can get our points across. Usually the older generation bosses, they prefer, um, you have to be very diplomatic about it. You can't say, hey, this is not right. You can't do this. Yeah, they get really defensive if you tell them that. With if it's my generation, millennial generation, you can tell that to a millennial boss. They'll be fine. You can straight up tell them, hey, this is not right. We should do it. We should change things, or we should, brainstorm. Millennial bosses will understand at some point. But boomer bosses kind of difficult. You have to you kind of have to stroke their egos a little bit. Tell them, okay, I see a problem here, but maybe we can fix it this way. Or what do you think? You know, maybe you have a better idea. So show them that you have done a little bit of your homework, but also ask them for their opinions. So
I love that.
that's what they like.
Love that. I love that. That was great advice. What tell us what is money for the kids listening? What is money?
What is money for kids? So what is money for?
For
What is
you,
this money
for yeah, what is
for me?
money?
Okay. Um, money. Hmm, money is important for certain things, but money is not the most important in life. So with my health scare and with losing my dad to cancer, it made me realize that no matter how much money you have in the world, if you don't really have a good mental health or even physical health or happiness, a good relationship with your family, money is not going to help you. You know, at some point, you will regret. Um, because I used to think money was really important. Um, so I worked really hard. I spent a lot of hours, and I unfortunately I didn't spend a lot of time with my family. I was very distant from them. But I guess life taught me a lesson. With my dad passing and with me getting sick, it showed me that despite me being distant from my family still loves me. My friends still love me, and money's not there to fix the issue. They still come and help me, to get back on my feet. To They still encourage me to get better every day. So for me, money, yeah, I mean it's important for certain things, but what's the point if you don't have a good relationship with your family or your friends, uh, you know, or even
Absolutely.
your own health mentally, right? Money
Absolutely.
can't buy those things. So that for me is money.
Okay. And then just a last thing that we're going to touch on with money is what can you explain corporate work culture for the kids that are exiting high school or going into the workplace? Because I think it's just like the movies, right? They think like we're gonna just go to work or like it's adult school, you know. So
Yeah.
can you elaborate on what corporate culture is? Is how is it different from what you were expecting when you were in school?
Yeah. So when I finished high school, when I finished college, I had a big shock when I got into corporate world. Uh, it's very different, very different from the movies, and very different from how a lot of people portray it. Um, Most of the time, you would have to really put in the extra work to prove yourself to the company before you get promoted, or before they see your worth. A lot of places people think that, oh, I should get paid first before I get promoted, or uh, that kind of thing, right? So in the corporate culture, your managers will always look at who is most visible, um, who can get along well with others, who is who's good at their job, right? Who takes the initiative to learn other things outside their job scope. Right? A lot of people think that, oh, if it's within my job scope, I'm just doing that. Yes, okay, but you won't really learn a lot of things. So be open to learning. You know, don't fear. I mean, while you're young, don't fear that. Oh, I can't learn this or I can't learn that. Just try. You never know that you'll be really good at your job. I definitely didn't know that I was good at my job when I first started out. I was just a young kid and I just told myself, I'll just try this job out and I see what happens. And I've been in my industry for 15 years.
Got
So,
it. Got it. Got it. Any tips on the corporate politicking or taking your bosses out to lunch, or how does that work?
um, it's not a necessity, to be honest. If you're really good at your job and you take the initiative to learn and all that, most bosses will be able to see your worth and they'll be able to, guide you, have open conversations with your boss on what you want to, where you want to grow, and what you want to do. Or even if you want to just try out something, have open conversations with them. Um, it doesn't work. Those people who take their bosses out for lunch, for them, bosses knows that, oh, this is just a gimmick. This is just someone trying to lick my boot, right? So they'll enjoy it, but at the end of the day, they're not going to give you the job if you can't do your job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Let's move on to the last topic of the day, which is love. I would say one of the most important topics. Tell us, what is love?
Love. What is love? Mm, there are many forms of love. One, I would say most important is self love. Um, you should always prioritize yourself, um, not be fake, not try to fit in and change yourself. Sooner or later, someone special will come and find you, whether or not it's a partner or whether or not it's friends. Um, I learned that the hard way in school as well, or my previous relationships. Just be yourself. Why do you have to change yourself for someone else to love you, right? Spend time with your family and your loved ones because life is so short. You wouldn't know when a person might go later. So always tell the person you love that you love them every day. Take lots of pictures, takes lots of videos. That to me is love.
Love that. What was your relationship with your dad like?
Oh, my dad. I love that man. So me and my dad, we're like two peas in a pod. From young, I was very attached to my father, and I was really close to him. So he taught me a lot. He influenced me a lot with art, um, with music. He taught me a lot of things like how to be independent. How to. He was very different from most Asian fathers. He made sure that I knew how to be independent by myself and not rely on anyone else. You know, made sure that I knew how to change, to fix the sink, to figure out what's wrong with the car, at least basic stuff, so that I don't get cheated. So we spent a lot of time. Actually, me and my dad, we spent a lot of time, and we used to have our own father-daughter dates without my mom, and my mom would get so angry.
what
"You're dating your mother again." I'm like, "Yeah, it's our time."
what
So,
was your relationship with your mom like?
um, honestly, we were like sisters. We constantly fight and annoy each other. And she always gets jealous when my dad takes me out and leaves her at home.
And
So
has your
yeah.
relationship changed from when you were younger to now with your mom?
Definitely. When I was younger, I was, like I said, I was very rebellious, and I used to, spite my mother off just for the sake of it because she tells me not to do something. But as I grew older, I learned how would I say, I learned a lot about her history and how it was difficult for her when she grew up, and during her time, during her parents' time as well, when they had to run away from the war. So my grandparents were immigrants from China, which they ran away to Malaysia during the war. So then they, had families here, started a family here. So it was difficult for them, and definitely that had some impact with how my mom was raised, and how she thought of certain ways. So we did have difficult situations when we were younger. We have a lot of stories, or I have a lot of stories of how I used to, purposely rebel and piss her off, and she would lock me out of the house because I would rebel against her. But yeah, I mean, over the years, seeing, gaining experience and seeing friends and families, life change, I start to appreciate her a little bit more, and I start to be a bit more patient with her and understand where she comes from, right? And she's also, learning how to be, uh, she's also learning a lot about mental health as well, which I'm really proud of her, right? Most Asian older generations refuse to learn about this mental health thing. But yeah, she's starting to learn a lot about mental health because I talk to her about it every day, and she's starting to understand where I come from, and I start to understand a lot about her life as well. So we the pieces kind of fit together. When I start learning about her history, her mom's history, how life was so difficult, during the war, um, and how poor they were. They had to, really fight to survive. It made me understand her, how she is in a different way. So I learned that open communication, with her as well, definitely did help. So
Uh,
our, our relationship's a lot better right
okay. Where were your brothers when you were rebelling? Were they also rebelling with you, or were they
now.
more?
No, no, they already know that not to rebel against my mom. So they followed. They're very good boys. So mama's boys. So
I love that.
yeah.
I love that. I talk with a lot of kids who have also lost a parent during school. Can you tell us, about the loss of your father and how you dealt with it, or what are some tips maybe, or what was the experience like for you?
Mm, Losing my father was really one of the hardest things that I had to deal with. Um, it left me with a lot of depression at that time because I had such a really good relationship with my dad. Um, it felt like I lost my best friend, you know. Um, Made me really sad. So I started to learn a little bit more about depression at that time because when I lost my dad, I disconnected from the entire world. I just I felt like I didn't know who I am anymore. A part of me was missing. Everything. I lost connection with friends, with family. I was just by myself. I refused to meet anyone. But my friends and my family realized that there was something wrong, and they told me to seek out help, right? To find peace within, um, to pray, meditate. So I went to travel at that time, and I did visit a temple, and had blessings from the temple. But I started to find inner peace, right? To understand that despite my father having to go, it's always, at least he's no longer suffering anymore in pain. So, and that, eventually at some point I'll probably see him again at some point. So that keeps me going, I would say.
Does the sadness or the depression go away, or when did you start getting back into society or talking to people again?
Um, maybe after about 6, 7 months after, then I started to come back. I did speak to a lot of therapists as well. I did read up a lot about depression. um, yeah, started reaching back out to friends. And, my friends and my family also did help me get through that as well. So yeah, after about 6, 7 months I started to try again.
And you were there with your dad, with him going through the treatments, chemo, and all that, the whole experience.
Yes.
What would you say for the people listening, if their dad or their parents also got diagnosed with cancer, what to prepare for, or what to brace for that experience?
It will be really hard. To be honest, it will be really hard. But know that your loved ones, your parents, your mom or your dad, who's gotten sick, they're really grateful for you being there. You'll probably be really scared being in hospital all the time, seeing all these things happen, but they're just as scared and as worried as you as well. So being there for them helps them, you know, be strong. They definitely appreciate you being there. Um, just try to find jokes and laughter, during those treatments. They'll definitely appreciate that.
Love that. How do you show love to others?
Sorry,
How do you show love to others?
how do I show love to others? I try to spend a lot of time with them. I see if they really need help, then I'll try to help them if they need help. You know, if they need gifts or things like that, I'll try to bring gifts. But usually, for me, showing love is just doing something out of the way for others, especially if you know that your loved ones are struggling with certain things, or having difficulties in their life. Sometimes just showing up for them, you know
Right.
asking them, hey, do you need help with certain things? They'll be grateful for it.
Right. What about how do you receive love?
How do I receive love? Okay. um for me it's the same thing as well. So i I tend to overthink, and I tend to like plan a lot of things, and do a lot of things. So there are some things like house chores that I don't like to do. So, like, if someone can help me do those things, I'll be really grateful and I'll be really happy.
I love that. All right. Before we wrap it up today, any two pieces of life advice for the kids?
Two piece of life advice for the kids. Mm, find out what you're really passionate about in life and go for it. If it's art that you like, if it's helping others that you like, just go for it. Because life is so short to be doing things that you don't like to do. Right? Sooner or later, it eats at you. You waste your time, and you get at that point in life where you've wasted so many years what of not finding your own purpose. So do what you're passionate about. If it's art that you love, go and do it. Show your family, show whoever that you're great at doing that. Hone your skills. Do what calls to your heart. That's the
Do
first advice. Second advice I would say is, as busy as your life gets, call your family members, call your loved ones, tell them that you love them, because you don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know how short life could get. Right? So take lots of videos, like I said. Yeah, call your mom. Yes. Call your family members, spend time with them, take videos, take photos, enjoy yourself. That's
I
the
love that.
two advice.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. If people wanted to reach out to you, where can they find you?
They can find me on my IG,
Okay.
which is Chubi_Chabor.
Okay. Got it. What does Chubi mean?
Chubi is a play. It's a play on words. So Chubi means cute in Hokkien,
Okay.
and Chabor means girl in Hokkien.
Okay. Cute girl. I like that.
Yeah.
um, before I forget, if you are based in the North America and you do need someone to talk to, and you are going through tough times or having suicidal thoughts, feel free to text home to 741-741. And if you are in Malaysia, you can text 6018-988-8058. You can WhatsApp, and that is also a national crisis line. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, somebody will respond and talk to you. Um, and also, all I ask is that if you're feeling generous, that you do consider supporting the community hotline. That's it for this episode today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, Elena, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks, Bob.
Same
Bye.
here.